journey began in Africa. 10,000 generations ago, our species was peering over the brink of extinction. Now, we are everywhere. How do we do it? My name is Niobe Thompson. I'm an anthropologist. I want to know how our ancestors found a way through the greatest desert on Earth, and then colonized a world already home to other kinds of human. Come with me on a journey out of Africa and discover how we became the planet's only global species. Humans we would recognize as us evolved on Africa's coasts. That is where we finally became the self we know. Tool builders, makers of art. We invented language, and we began to move. A new human had emerged. An explorer. Some of us left the sea behind to look for a doorway out of Africa. But in the way lay the world's greatest expanse of sand, the Sahara Desert. It was born when our ancestors left the trees. Ever since, the searing hot Sahara has sealed our African homeland off from the rest of the world. At the Sahara's northern edge lies Arabia, a place so dry, even today, humans struggle to survive. I've come here to discover how they do. From a tiny population in Africa, we became the only species we know of, at home in every corner of the planet. But how we got out of Africa and then survived in the very different worlds we found, well, to this day, that is one of the great mysteries of science. But somewhere here, where Africa ends and Arabia begins, our ancestors must have found a pathway through. I'm here to learn from an amazing desert culture, the Bedouin. They've evolved the skills to survive in one of the planet's most unforgiving environments. I've asked my guides to show me how they live in a land without water. Of all the secrets of desert survival, the greatest is the dromedary. A Bedouin camel can survive for weeks without fresh water. The fatty deposits in its hump are a movable feast. Without the camel, there would be no Bedouin. Out in the desert, water is precious. But coffee is sacred.
You're still waiting.
I do it a long time ago, engaged.
You broke the engagement.
I'm not lucky, maybe she's not lucky.
Even 2 days' ride from the nearest well, life is good. But that's only because our camels carry all we need.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
Camels have given humans the ability to survive in the desert. It's a remarkable adaptation that opened yet another very difficult environment. consummate desert people. But the nomadic roots of the Bedouin only skirt the edges of the true deserts. Here, it's still possible for humans to live. But the Bedouin know, not even their camels could take them through the heart of the desert. For our ancestors, crossing on foot would have been suicide.
The Sahara is a paradox. On the one hand, this place is hostile to life. But on the other, it had to be our doorway. You can see how cut off our ancestors were from the rest of the world. This was our original homeland. Now, look at the size of the Sahara and then Arabia. Together, they form a massive obstacle. And yet, somehow, humans found a route from here to here. We just don't have any idea how they did it.
Somewhere in these parched wastes, the first human pioneers must have left a sign of their passing. One of the only clues we have is here, in Israel. In our journey out of Africa, we think this might have been our pathway. Almost a century ago, in caves called Shkul and Kafse, English archaeologist Dorothy Garrod made a sensational discovery. 10 human skeletons, some of them 120,000 years old. To this day, these are easily the oldest human remains ever discovered outside of Africa. Some of the skeletons from Shkul Cave are kept here in the Rockefeller Museum in Jerusalem.
Even after 120,000 years, looking at this skeleton in deathly repose, you feel a connection, and the preservation is just amazing. But the question is, are these the humans who solved the puzzle of the Sahara and survived the journey onwards and into the rest of the world? Well, that's where the mystery deepens, because this is the only discovery of human remains even remotely this old. After Shkul Cave, the trail goes cold. It's as if we got this far and then we gave up on the world beyond Africa.
So we closed the door on the Shkul people. In the human odyssey, we believed Israel was a dead end. Not for another 60,000 years would humans try again. That is when scientists believed the story of humans outside Africa really began. But what if we had it wrong? New genetic research is beginning to tell us human life beyond Africa could be much older than we thought. We're learning our DNA holds an echo of earlier migrations. Some believe we should take a fresh look at the humans from Shkul Cave.
If we could get ancient DNA, that would really help us show whether there was essentially one exit from Africa or more than one. And of course, we don't have any African DNA data from those ancient times. But again, we're beginning to work now because techniques of recovery and technology have moved on so much. So we can start to look at older samples. Let's hope that partly, at least, we will start to recover the DNA we need of that very early part of the modern human story, and we lack that at the moment.
This is Cambridge. Almost a century after Dorothy Garrod found the skeletons at Shkul, a new generation of scientists is tackling the mystery of their fate. A mystery they may finally unlock with a tiny fragment. A tooth. It was found here at the Duckworth Laboratory, a staggering collection of human bones from countless British expeditions.
it carved on the skull after the death?
Because they were headhunted.
This is a head-hunted skeleton.
Looking through her collections, anthropologist Marta Lahr stumbled upon a tooth from one of the oldest skeletons at School Cave. Garrett must have misplaced it in this tobacco tin and brought it home. Now, as techniques for finding ancient DNA improve, this tooth might just tell us a tale.
It is impossible at the moment to be certain from archaeology or anthropology when modern people first left Africa. We need the fossils in order to be sure when humans are leaving Africa. The first fossils out of Africa are these, the Skull and Capse. They're the first humans out of Africa.
The Skull and Capse people are interesting because certainly 20 years ago I was one of the people who argued that perhaps there was an early spread of that population, like Skull and Capse, out of Africa, reaching as far as Australia.
Imagine if we get genetics out of this, and imagine if we had something that makes it close to Australians.
The problem is, over time, DNA fades away. And the bones from School are very old indeed. Most scientists believe they're too old. Except for this man, Danish geneticist Eske Willerslev. He's made his reputation by doing things most scientists think are impossible. And he's got an uncanny talent for finding very old DNA. Eske's Copenhagen lab has just received a precious package from England. The tooth from School Cave.
Så er der skuldtand.
Gud, er det skuldtanden? Kæft, hvor er det noget fedt. Jeg skal lige se, hvordan den ser ud nu.
Forsigtig.
Ja, jeg skal nok være forsigtig. Jeg skal være helt forsigtig her. Jeg skal lige se. Jeg skal bare lige se. Vent lidt. Hold kæft, mand. Ja. My hands are shaking, right? I mean, when we talk about, now we have to drill. Things can go wrong. I mean, we know that, right? When you cut a tooth, can splinter, whatever, right? And we know that will be a great loss for science. Of course, we want to do it, and we will do it. I mean, because, now we have it, and I'm too curious. I just need to do this thing. But I would say it's probably, certainly is one of the most important specimens, human specimens, in terms of understanding, the spread of modern humans, and maybe it is the most important specimen, right? So.
Går udslaget.
Okay.
Her har du alle prøverne, vi har kørt samtidig. Skold har du her.
Hvor er skold? Denne her?
Her. Men du har, det her er ancient.
Hold kæft, mand, hvor er det sejt.
Gammel
kæft, mand, det ser sgu ikke dårligt ud, altså. Beautiful.
Kan du se, hvor skarpt det er, efter det er super degraded?
Beautiful. Super beautiful. I have to get myself a snuff to stand the excitement.
You're not allowed to eat in the lab.
Okay. It really looks like...
It looks ancient.
Ancient. The DNA looks ancient. Yes, there's ancient DNA in there. Shit, man. Okay, this is actually going to be more exciting than I had hoped for. Jeez. Fuck. I'm feeling... It's pretty disappointing. I'll give you that. We could see that the fragmentation of skull was just... of the DNA in skull was just severe. It's down to, 20, 25 base pairs. We still have something we believe is human and believe is ancient. There's just tiny bits of it, and it's super fragmented, and it's so fragmented that you cannot map it uniquely in the human genome, although still we can say that it's human. As long as I think there's a chance, even though the chance is not that high, but there's still a chance, I think it's worth struggling until at least there's no more hope.
This is how science works. Progress demands courage and determination. For Eska, it was worth the try, and he hasn't given up. But while Eska's been working, I've learned of another discovery in the Middle East. More evidence of humans on the way out of Africa, and much earlier than expected. The discovery was made on the other side of Arabia. This is Jebel Faya, at the base of a range of arid mountains not far from Dubai. What's coming out of the dust here is telling us this wasn't always a desert. The scientist in charge here is a bit of a maverick, German archaeologist Hans-Peter Erpmann. At Jebel Faya, Erpmann drove his workers to dig deeper and farther back in time, into sediment they thought couldn't possibly contain human artifacts. But Hans-Peter was right.
And they started below the Neolithic, and all the way down here, there was nothing.
This is all sterile here.
This was all sterile. And they started to complain. Why do we dig here? There is nothing. I told them, you go down as far as we can.
What did the workmen think?
Well, they thought he's crazy. We went through this layer of big stones, and immediately below, we had a find which at that time to me looked like a hand axe.
The hand axe was the signature of a modern human, a human almost exactly the same age as the people of Skhul Cave. And what DNA could not prove, this hand axe just might. Humans, far back in time, and scattered across the doorstep out of Africa. So maybe Israel wasn't a dead end after all.
Humans made it into the Middle East 120,000 years ago, and that's it. It was a dead end. And we had to wait another 60,000 years for humans to leave Africa again and succeed and go further.
Well, I think that thought is wrong.
Wrong because they survived. Hans-Peter believes these could be the ancestors of all humans beyond Africa. It's more proof humans were breaking through earlier than we thought possible. So the question is, how? Crossing the Sahara Desert was a journey of almost 4,000 kilometers. Our ancestors were only human. So how did they accomplish the impossible? Some fascinating research on the ancient Sahara may finally tell us how.
We've got like a climate model, a paleoclimate model, like the models we use nowadays to model climate change.
Yes.
Okay, but transposed back 125,000 years ago. Every 20,000 years, the Earth kind of wobbles around. So there's kind of a 20,000-year cycle.
It's a regular pattern.
That 20 to 40,000 years of how far north the monsoon goes. The monsoon belt was probably about 700 kilometres further north than it is at the moment. So whole parts of northern Africa that are present deserts and receive next to no rainfall, we're receiving quite a lot of rainfall, the kind of amount of rainfall we get in London.
This shift essentially eliminated the Sahara Desert as a barrier for humans that were further south in Africa.
Nearly. The northern strip of the Sahara still remained desert. You probably had 400 or 500 kilometres thick band of desert with no rainfall or very little rainfall.
So that remained a barrier for humans. Mm-hmm. Humans couldn't get past that strip of surviving Sahara Desert.
That's right, unless there was some pathway through the desert. So here we have North Africa. You have this mountain range, and the rain will fall on these mountains, and it wants to flow north. And that's enough water to generate rivers that flow straight across the Sahara. You're talking about rivers 100 metres to a kilometre wide. What happens is the monsoon moves over the watershed, and all these rivers on the northern side, they fire up. Okay, so they switch on, and then you get your corridor going through to the Mediterranean.
What's really interesting is 125,000 years ago is essentially when we first start to see modern humans in North Africa and even the Middle East.
That's right. So this climate shift corresponds with a really interesting time in how we think humans got out of Africa.
The Sahara Desert bloomed with life. And a doorway opened just at that moment in time when humans reached School Cave and Jebel Faya. It shows us a shifting climate could drive us to the edge of extinction. But at times, change could be a gift. Once we found the way, Africa could not contain us. Yet, when humans left Africa, our ancestors entered a strange new world. A world full of foreign diseases. How did we survive them? How did we remake our immune system? This is Papua New Guinea, at the furthest extreme of Southeast Asia. There, the Sepik River winds through a jungle barely touched by the modern world. I've come here because I'm trying to understand why new diseases didn't stop our ancestors in their tracks.
This village is so remote, it's not even on the government map. And that means it's beyond the reach of modern medicine. And that's exactly what I'm after. Hello. Hello. Good day. Is this 9? Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Good. That's the right place. Hello. Hello. Good afternoon.
The temperature rarely falls below 30 degrees, and the humidity is intense. In this steaming jungle world, everything is always growing. But this incredible biological productivity has its downside: disease. The Sepik River is known as the most malarial place on Earth. Before modern medicine, the only defense humans had was their immune system. In this village, nothing has changed. Just a short walk through the forest lie the village gardens.
It's good? Yeah, he likes it.
Everyone here is likely infected with malaria, probably a stomach parasite or two, but I'm completely healthy. I want to see if I can keep up.
I'm out here cutting sugarcane with Cowie. It's got to be at least 35 degrees. It's just so hot. I can barely swing this knife. Seems like all the effort I can muster. But he seems okay.
Perhaps I'm not so healthy after all.
Show me what you have for medical care in 9. The whole first aid kit is for testing and treating malaria.
Before this kid came into the village, there was malaria, but they would just sleep it off, you know.
Yeah. The malaria that people could sleep off here would kill me.
The people here are almost immune to the malaria.
It's amazing that people here are as healthy as they are. I've asked around in the village, and there isn't a single baby or adult suffering from malaria. There is some skin fungal infection, a bit of ringworm, but that's it. Now, my own first aid kit that I've had to bring here to stay healthy has more medicine in it than the entire village. I have rehydration salts, I have malaria medicine, broad-spectrum antibiotics, painkillers, water purification. The people who live here clearly can deal with what we call the pathogen environment in a different way than I can. And there may be a very interesting reason for that.
With hardly any modern medicine, these people still seem remarkably healthy. They have incredible natural immunities to the diseases here. Why this might be has fascinated medical anthropologist Wolf Schiefenheuvel all his life. When he began his research with Papuans, he was the first white man they had ever seen.
I call the people I have lived with for so many years now modern models of the past, because they enable us to understand how was life 20, 30, 40,000 years ago. The Sepik people are a very interesting case. As a medical doctor and somebody who has worked in New Guinea before and treated patients, it was striking to see that they were basically very healthy without any modern medicine. You have all kinds of things there. Not only malaria, you have a bunch of tropical diseases, dysentery, you had tuberculosis and other diseases, you have leprosy. I was amazed how healthy the people were. Powerful. These guys carry weights of more than their own body weight. For hours, the women can carry 45 kilograms for 2-3 hours with a smile on their face. It's just absolutely amazing. We, as Europeans, I mean, I was always a sporty guy. I was put to shame all the time. It's amazing how you can live so well without modern medicine.
I believe the immunities of Papuans today might offer a clue to the mystery of human survival long ago.
When the first founder population of humans left Africa, they had one profound disadvantage: a lack of genetic diversity. This would have been a tiny breeding population, and it was now cut off from the genetic diversity of Africa. So how did our ancestors repair this problem? Well, they reached out for new genetic material, and they got it from a different kind of human. Humans who'd already lived outside of Africa for an immense span of time.
These archaic humans had evolved defenses against diseases still new to us. Some were Neanderthals. Others we call Denisovans.
Of course, we don't know all the enigmata yet, which are connected to our immune system. Where did we inherit these changes from, these mutations? Is it something the Denisova people have given the Papuans?
Neanderthals, Denisovans, strains of Homo erectus we know almost nothing about. These were our ancient cousins. They'd left Africa far earlier than we modern humans did. Because they've been living in places like this, they had flowing through their veins genes that we needed to survive.
We know that many people today have around a 2% input of Neanderthal DNA. Clearly, these populations not only met and had offspring, but that DNA came through to the present day. There's evidence of at least one additional phase of interbreeding with these people called the Denisovans, related to the Neanderthals apparently, but a distinct archaic form of human, and one which seems to have interbred with the ancestors of people today in Australia and New Guinea. There's evidence that the HLA immune system of modern humans outside of Africa may owe something to the Neanderthal immune systems.
Amazingly, new research shows that in Papua New Guinea, up to 95% of immune system genes are inherited from Neanderthals and Denisovans. In other words, the ancestors of these people got their immune system by having sex with the natives.
If you're in a band of migrating humans, if you meet some archaic humans and you socialize with them, or you capture them, or somehow you get them and then you mate with them, each mating will bring in one haploid genome. And so if there are factors in that genome that are really useful, then they will be selected for. And the modern humans that have those factors are going to be more competitive than the other members of that band that don't have those factors. And so this phenomenon of admixture is going on all the time. And to think that it didn't happen between archaic humans and modern humans is perhaps the more renegade hypothesis.
What is true for Papuans is true for all of us. The human cousins we encountered outside Africa gave us a precious gift. Their DNA was a kind of travel vaccine. Perhaps without it, we never would have survived our journey. 45,000 years ago, we set foot in what we would now think of as Europe. This new continent was covered in dense forests, full of lakes and rivers. It was teeming with life. We might have believed we'd found a paradise. But even here, there were dangers. This was a colder world, completely foreign to a species from Africa. And there was something else. Europe was already peopled. We were colonizing the homelands of the Neanderthals. At first, there was room for all, but with time, it would become a race for survival. At the University of Tübingen, Greek archaeologist Katerina Harvati studies the bones of Neanderthals for clues to their way of life and their fate.
The Neanderthal lineage lived in Europe for more than 500,000 years. They were extremely successful in dealing with environmental changes throughout the ice ages. Strongly built, with quite wide trunks, wide pelvis, a lot of musculature. And Neanderthals tend to have the body shape that is thought to be cold adapted. Modern humans coming in, they're looking very much more African or warm adapted. Modern people rely very much on long-distance weaponry, things like the bow and arrow or the spear thrower. Neanderthals didn't have this sort of weaponry, then they really had to be extremely fit and extremely strong in order to be able to just pull it off.
While the Neanderthals, without question, knew their environment very well, they were archaic humans. They may have been very adept. They were expert hunters. But I don't think any modern human had any illusions about the strength of the Neanderthal. We knew they were attacked. They were probably goners.
So as we staked our claim to this new world, how did we compete with its native inhabitants? I think a clue might lie in the objects the very first humans in Europe left behind in places like this. 40,000 years ago, southern Germany was home to Europe's first human culture. It's also the birthplace of art. These ivory carvings are the oldest figurative art ever discovered, and yet they're masterful. They tell us art had become a central feature of human life. Archaeologist Nick Connard is taking me to one of the rock shelters where these carvings were discovered.
We have figurative art, these mythical images that clearly have to do with ideology, perhaps religious beliefs of these people. And when can we prove that people made music? It's here, and it's again in this exact period, slightly in excess of 40,000 years ago. This is a flute 1. It's the wing of a swan. You can make one of these in an hour. It's not a problem to make it if you have good stone tools. The key thing is the musical engineering to know the exact dimensions and exactly how to carve the holes. This one was a gigantic surprise for all of us. Again, this is a reconstruction. But one day my colleague Maria Molina came to me and said, "Nick, I think I found part of an ivory flute." And I said, "Sure, Maria. Who would make a flute out of ivory?" Whereas this can be done in 1 hour. This takes about 100 if you know what you're doing. Obviously, you make a mistake, you can pretty much start over. The advantage of an ivory flute is you can get whatever tone you want because you can make it as large as you want.
Was music, in your view, an important part of keeping a society together?
Oh, absolutely. I think all of these symbolic artifacts were the glue that held society together in a pre-scientific world. How do you solve your problems? How do you even get your head around all the things you're observing? Who lives, who dies? They had to have had some kind of ideology and religious system of beliefs.
It stands to reason because we today take superstitious tokens with us. Through a challenging life, suddenly you needed different tools. You needed symbols, art.
These biological adaptations to the cold, how did they do it? They actually survived, and Neanderthals went extinct. One of the very important factors were things like better clothing, better shelter, more sophisticated social networks, as evidenced by all of this ornamentation and symbolic behavior. So when the times are rough and you only have few survivors with no resources, social networks suddenly become also extremely important.
Clothing was one of the most important innovations brought into Europe.
To the cold. But I wonder, did we even notice when Neanderthals disappeared from our world? Of these Ice Age humans, we can only know the merest things. Art and music knit us together. We called the spirits, and we filled this new world with our children. Born in Africa, now we had mastered the Arctic. And not even an ice age could stop our colonization of the planet. The Ice Age ended long ago, along with its human cultures. Yet even today, a tiny window on this past still survives. It is a place so cold, winter is a way of life. Reindeer people have lived in the Arctic since the beginning. In their way of life today, there's an echo of a time when we learned to live with the Ice Age. I need to meet them. There's no region of Russia more remote than Chukotka. Once, this was the Soviet Union's northern frontier. Now, the people left behind endure the coldest temperatures outside Antarctica.
This is Kanchalan, little village on the way to the reindeer herd. There's an incredibly strong blizzard out there, so we're gonna go to the store down the main street. It's about 200 feet, so we're getting ready.
It's taken 6 months to get a Russian visa and a week of travel to get this far. But I'm still only halfway. And in this blizzard, we aren't going anywhere. Finally, the weather breaks clear, and my ride comes to get me. A kind of Red Army tank. Believe it or not, this machine is the only thing capable of reaching the herders. The tank was salvaged from a military base, abandoned as the Soviet Union collapsed. It wasn't built for comfort. I quickly learned the thing about nomads is that you never know where you'll find them.
Меня зовут Александр.
Александр, очень приятно, Александр.
Ирина.
Ну, привет, Северина. Как дела у тебя?
This is the home of the Chukchi, reindeer herders, living on a moonscape frozen solid for 9 months of the year. I soon realize it's not as bad as it sounds.
Yeah.
When they aren't out in the freezing cold, everyone gathers close together for food and warmth. Reindeer people imitate their cold-adapted animals. They surround themselves in layers of warm fur. And like the reindeer, they never stop moving. This is my 8th visit to the Russian Arctic, but I've never been here in the winter. At night, it drops well below -40. So to prepare for this trip, I went back to school. My old professor at Cambridge has studied the reindeer people all his life. Piers Vitebsky is one of the only Westerners ever to have lived with Siberian nomads.
How can you put it into words for me?
I suppose the key is you don't have to see the cold as an obstruction or an enemy. Cold actually makes the landscape easier to handle. You can travel immense distances. On a sledge in winter, you can travel hundreds of miles in just a few days. Then there's the question of food. The land becomes a gigantic open-air deep freeze. That means you can arrange to ambush, for example, a herd of wandering reindeer, caribou, slaughter them at far greater scale than you could in the summer, and you just pile them up and use them.
When a guest comes, the herders kill one of their animals. Its death brings new life to the camp.
This reindeer is a dense package of the two essentials of life on the tundra, fur and calories. And before long, that hide will be part of the clothing of one of these herders. But it's not survival, it's living and thriving in a very harsh environment. And it works because of this relationship between animals and humans.
A herder's work is unrelenting. But when it's this cold, it's what the women do that keeps the group alive.
Да. Проходите, пожалуйста.
Это чьи штаны?
Саша.
Да.
Paulina is making a pair of reindeer fur pants for her husband, Sasha. We're effectively tropical animals, and so to live in the far north, it takes a mastery of fur clothing. Now, reindeer change the quality of their fur according to the season, so Paulina's making these pants with a winter hide, and it's understanding how that fur changes through the year, and then wearing the appropriate hide at the appropriate time that really is the genius of this technology.
Most of us see an Arctic environment as utterly hostile and is very dangerous to survival.
I think the key trick is to imitate the animals, because we are a hairless animal and all the other animals around us in the cold are very hairy. What you have to do is you have to take their fur and put it all over your own body. There are boots in Siberia that are made directly from the shin fur of reindeer. So there's an inner boot, and that's short fur because it's taken from a reindeer killed in July.
Summer fur.
In summer, so their fur is their least, because they're actually trying to lose heat all the time. Because they hate heat. That's what the antlers are doing too. They're a kind of reverse radiator.
Yeah.
And then, over that, you have an outer boot, which is made from fur killed in November, when it's at its thickest. And even your sleeping bag is made the same way.
The herd has exhausted the tundra. It's time to look for fresh pastures. Surviving in one place seems hard enough. But packing up and moving on will be a minor miracle. We fold the tents and pack the poles. But then, the real challenge begins. Lassoing a team of reindeer to pull the sleds. These reindeer aren't wild, but
they're not exactly tame either.
For the deer and their keepers, moving on makes life possible. For the Chukchi, no home is permanent. In reindeer nomads today, we can catch a glimpse of that miraculous adaptation when tropical humans became Arctic people. In time, this adaptation would prove absolutely critical for our species' journey to the second half of the planet.
We have a problem of understanding the power of our own species. Physical powers, and especially the mental powers. That is what we have to understand. We are an incredible construction, Homo sapiens.
Our species owes everything to the remarkable humans who found a way out of Africa. We met threats to our survival completely foreign to our African ancestors. Even an ice age that destroyed our world, but created a new one in which we could learn to live. Yet half the planet was still beyond reach. The oceans were a final barrier. But not for long.